Hello internet users, and welcome back to another video. I want you all to imagine that I've given you a copy of Pokemon Red or Blue version for the Game Boy. When you boot it up and check continue on the title screen, you find what is seemingly one of the most normal saves you've ever seen. The player has 5 badges and has access to lots of money and Pokeballs. Every major city has been visited, and there is nothing stopping you from using Surf and Fly to reach any of them. Because you're not trapped anywhere and can go capture any Pokemon you want, you might assume that from this point, this playthrough would be pretty easy to finish. However, that is most definitely not the case. Although it might not be obvious at first, I've actually done something to this save that makes it completely impossible to beat. On this file, there are 3 buildings that still need to be visited for the player to obtain the final 3 badges. These are the Saffron, Cinnabar, and Viridian gyms. The Saffron Gym is blocked by a Team Rocket Grunt that will not move until the player clears the Sylph building. The Cinnabar Gym is locked and requires the secret key that's found in the basement of the Pokemon Mansion. And finally, the Viridian Gym will always remain locked until the player has defeated all other gym leaders in the game. But because of what I've done to the save, all 3 of these gyms will remain permanently sealed. All of the gameplay sequences I've just described are no longer possible to do. If you try to find the secret key, you'll find that it's just not there anymore. If you try to complete the Sylph building, you'll find that the card key is also missing, making it impossible to open the locked doors and reach the top floor. No matter where you go, no matter who you talk to, the final gym badges will remain unobtainable. This means that the Pokemon League cannot be reached, and in turn means that you can't battle the Elite Four and Champion and reach the end credits. This whole file has essentially become a sandbox where you can wander around Kanto, but you can never, ever complete your quest. You're essentially given no choice but to delete the save and start over with a new game from the beginning. And the reason for that, the reason why all 3 of those gyms will stay locked, is all because of one item that can be found in the inventory. The name of this item is TM23, an unremarkable TM that teaches the move Dragon Rage. While it might not seem like anything special, I'm going to show all of you how obtaining this item can completely destroy your Pokemon adventure. For all of this to make sense, we'll need to rewind things a bit. To properly understand why this save has become so broken, I'm going to demonstrate how I set all of this up in the first place. The following steps are going to look really random, but please bear with me. I promise all of this is going to click together as it goes on. For the first step, on a new game of Pokemon Red or Blue, I'm going to play until I've reached Fuchsia City and have defeated Koga. Koga's badge allows the player to use Surf and explore the water routes. For this setup to work, we need to be able to interact with a specific swimmer trainer that is located to the south of Fuchsia. Also, for the purpose of this example, I'm going to keep a handful of generic items in my inventory. For the next step, I'm going to need a surfing Pokemon that's been prepared in a certain way. For this video, I'll be using a Cloyster that knows the moves Teleport, Self-Destruct, Surf, and Explosion. It should be noted that Teleport is not a move that Cloyster can normally learn in other Pokemon games. But here in Gen 1, it can be taught the move legitimately. I figure I should mention that in case people think the move is cheated or something. With only this Cloyster in the party, I'm going to use the Fuchsia Pokemon Center, which will mark this location as my last used healing spot. Next, I'll exit the building and move south towards the shore. While I avoid all other trainers along the way, I'll surf into the water and move down on the right side of the area until I reach the swimmer that I mentioned a moment ago. This particular NPC is one of Gen 1's long-range trainers. He's able to spot the player from so far away that you can be caught in his eyesight right as he's loaded onto the edge of the screen. If you're familiar with my Pokemon videos, or Gen 1 glitches in general, then you know that these trainers have a massive oversight that has the potential to really break the game. The problem with them having such a long range of eyesight is that it's technically possible to open the menu right before their sprite is fully loaded. This puts the game into a tricky state where it can't load the exclamation point above their head until you close the menu again. In my last video, I showed what could happen when you save the game in this situation, but for this one, we're going to do something much more game-breaking. While the menu is open, I'll go into the party, select Cloyster, and use Teleport. As my character is being warped back to Fuchsia, the swimmer will spot me, but the teleport will still take priority. Once the warp is complete, the game will be stuck in a very confused state. We can still walk around just fine, but the start menu will no longer work. Because the swimmer spotted me as I was teleporting, the game thinks that it's supposed to be loading a battle right now. But obviously, under these circumstances, the swimmer cannot approach and give his pre-battle dialogue. For the next step, we need to regain access to the start menu. There are technically a couple different ways we can do this, but the simplest method would be to use the PC in the Pokemon Center. By switching the active Pokemon box, the game will bring up the save screen. After saving this way, we can safely turn off or reset the game, and when we load back in, the start menu can be used again like normal. But keep in mind, the game is still in a very glitched state right now, and these next steps will be the most important. After exiting the Pokemon Center, I'll walk south again towards the shore. I'll approach the closest trainer and speak to him to initiate a battle. As soon as it begins, I'll send out Cloyster and have it use self-destruct, which will cause me to instantly lose. After the battle begins to fade out, you might catch a glimpse of an error message that briefly appears in the text box. In the next moment, I'll be warped back to my last healing spot, standing in front of the Pokemon Center. But as soon as this screen loads, the game will start up another battle against that very same trainer, as if we were still in the same location. Once again, I'll get Cloyster to self-destruct so the battle can be over with as soon as possible. This time, though, there won't be any error message, and I'll be sent back to the center without any more battles happening. At this point, if you've performed all of the previous steps, then congratulations, you've just permanently corrupted the ocean route south of Fuchsia. Whenever you return to this specific map, the game will massively lag with each step, and stay that way until you leave again. Even if you save and reload, this effect will happen every time you come here. The only way to fix this permanently would be to delete the save and make a new one entirely. If you've made it this far into the video, you're probably wondering why all of this has been done. Why on earth did I just do a variation of the trainer escape glitch just to partially damage one of the game's maps? And more importantly, what does any of this have to do with TM23 and the locked gym doors that I showed at the start of the video? Well, as it turns out, the walking lag effect that I've set up isn't exclusive to this area. There are actually other long-range trainers in the game that can be used to cause the same corruption in other places. However, on this route, and only on this route, there is a side effect that will cause something to happen when stepping into the corrupted map. Remember when I showed my inventory and said that I was carrying a few items? If we take a look at this again, we can see that something has clearly changed here. The third item listed in the inventory was a potion, but now it's been transformed into a copy of TM23. As well, the second item now has a quantity of 7. From now on, whenever this map is entered, this effect will be applied to the item bag every single time. As you can see from the footage, by shuffling your items around and entering and exiting the area, you can use this to quickly convert cheaper items into the TM and easily multiply the amount you have. This is a very strange and specific side effect that doesn't really do much to benefit the player. If you wanted to duplicate items, there's a long list of other Gen 1 glitches that you can do, all of which would be far easier to set up and would have a lot less restrictions. It seems a bit silly to go through all these steps just to make copies of one particular item. But the reason we're talking about this glitch isn't because TM23 is useful. No, the reason I bring this up is because of how the game actually adds it to your inventory. You're not simply gaining a new item. The game is overwriting the one that you previously had. So with that in mind, I want to ask all of you a little question. What do you think happens when you put a key item in slot 3? The answer to that is exactly what you think. Whether it's a potion, an HM, or even a bicycle, the glitch will always turn it into a TM23 without exception. This obviously can cause some massive problems with the save data. Once a key item is picked up, the game prevents the player from discarding it. In normal gameplay, you are always supposed to have access to these items in some way to ensure that the game can be completed. But if this glitch morphs a key item into a TM, it becomes impossible to ever acquire another copy. So with all of that in mind, I think you all get the picture now. I softlocked this save by gathering the remaining key items that were available and overwriting them with TM23. By doing this to the secret key and the Sylph card key, I've created a situation where the end of the game is now completely inaccessible. That's right, you're not trapped on an island or just stuck with a single weak Pokemon. You just can't beat the game because I deleted everything that lets you get there. But with that, we've mostly come to the end here. I've shown you all the steps to make this happen, so the only remaining thing is to explain why this glitch happens in the first place. Unfortunately, at the time of making this, it doesn't seem like it's 100% known why this even happens. When I first learned about this glitch, it was mostly treated as just an obscure curiosity. This is probably one of the least talked about Gen 1 glitches I've ever seen, and trust me, in the context of these games, that is really saying something. As far as I'm aware, it doesn't look like anyone else ever tried to use this glitch on key items either. I kind of just thought to try that on my own, which led to me making this video in the first place. But for now, the simple answer is that all of our glitchy steps have tricked the game into doing something it's not supposed to. Whatever numbers are running in the background, they're telling the game to morph item slot 3 into TM23. There's no special reason for this, it's just something that happens when we mess with the game in ways we weren't supposed to. And with that, we've reached the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed watching. This has been a small idea that I've been thinking about for several months now. If you want to see more Pokemon videos like this, you can check my channel. And if you want to see me stream, I post my VODs to my other channel and stream over on Twitch. My name is Picasbury, and thanks for watching.